Greetings. This is Rosalind Parks with National Network View News. On tonight's broadcast, Brian E. Muhammad with the Final Call News discusses China's human rights abuses of Uyghur Muslims and other ethnic groups in China's Xinjiang region. Later in the show, Delphine Sellars with Urban Community AgriNomics discusses their nonprofit organization, its partners, and support for Catawba Trail Farm. Lastly, Nai1, rapper and recording artist, will share her personal journey to rapping and recording professionally. Before we delve into the top news, let's do a recap of the current events that we've covered this week. On yesterday's broadcast, I spoke with Dr. Akili about the growing concerns over the CVST blood clots and other reactions being reported after taking the COVID vaccines. What exactly is a clot?
Well, a clot is something that happens in the body normally. Most of us have had a scratch, a cut, some type of injury where we bleed, and that bleeding would continue if we didn't have the ability to clot. And so we have what we call clotting factors that are produced by the liver and other tissues. And then there's a specific blood cell type called platelets that actually clump up and produce what we see as a scab. And so that is the actual purpose of a clot, is to keep things from bleeding, keep us from bleeding to death when we have any type of injury.
Okay. Now, is it normal for a person to develop blood clots?
Yes, in those situations that I'm talking about. So, and then another example would be like a woman when she gets pregnant. There actually is a clot formed around that sperm and an egg after conception, and it starts to grow. That is considered a foreign body to a woman's body. So the body actually produces a clot around that to protect that growing baby. And so in situations like that in the human body, there are many normal reasons that we should produce a clot.
Yesterday, Thomas X shared his thoughts about the senseless gun violence affecting the community and the recent killing of 7-year-old Jaslyn Adams at a McDonald's parking lot in Chicago. Black on black crime and another term, black on black violence, are controversial phrases often used to label and convey deeper meanings.
Right.
Are these terms what they call dog whistle language?
Coded language,
Yes.
or, language to get support from others outside of the community. Well, there's a yes and no attached to that, because we are unable to deny that violence happens within our community. However, violence happens within the communities of individuals who live in the community. So I'm pretty sure there's Asian on Asian violence, right? There's Caucasian on Caucasian violence. However, what's different with black on black violence is that there are others outside of the black community that also engage in violence toward black people. So with that term, it's possible that it's used as a dog whistle term or coded language to have others justify the violence that they commit on our community. However, we are unable to completely deny the fact that we have to deal with the issues within our own community of this violence against one another.
Our NNV News anchor, Brother Willie Muhammad, was joined by guests, Dr. Gary Clark and Sister Sadia Kareem, who discussed the recent news stories and constant injustices being committed by police against Black people in America.
Why do you think we are continuing to see and witness these assaults against Black people in America, not only from law enforcement, but even from regular white folks who have no authority at all?
So it's business as usual. With modern day technology, what we're seeing now is what was being these atrocities that were being enacted on Black people, for centuries. So it's just a modern day lynching But now that we have technology backing it up, so if we look historically, what would happen back in the early 1800s, the 1900s, we had these lynchings that would call out a gathering of people. People would pack up their children. I mean, you would have large assemblies to witness these mass killings. And so now with social media and technology, we're just seeing what has been always happening. And now we just have to speak to the truth of it. And I believe that the media, the way that the media is portraying this, is desensitizing those behind the scenes with their guns. And then with us, it's, you know, the Willie Lynch mentality, putting us in our place and giving us the fear that the intention was there from the very beginning, is to put fear and to cull a population.
NNV anchor Brother Willie Muhammad spoke with Dr. Gary Clark and Sister Sadia Kareem about their thoughts on Buffalo, New York police officer Carriel Horn and her 13-year battle after being terminated for stopping a police officer from using excessive force on a Black man.
What other legal actions can she take?
Well, I mean, she went a step further, as Dr. Clark stated, by codifying, making sure that there's intervention when officers see their fellow officers using excessive force. And so that is a big deal, because not only did it was codified in Buffalo, but that particular law is being duplicated all over the nation. So good job, Officer Horn. And, you know, timing is everything. And she reminds me of the woman in the Bible who kept going back and back and back to the judge, asking for justice and mercy. And so, you know, unfortunately, you know, we had to see what happened with George Floyd. But when she saw that happen to George Floyd, as a mother, as a Black woman, she knew that she had to make sure that she continued the fight and continue to cry out against this injustice. And so, you know, through this particular woman, you know, be the will of God, this whole blue wall of silence may be eradicated and may be torn down. And when I say the blue wall of silence, or the blue code, or the blue silence, it is this code that officers have, that when there's misconduct, they do not snitch on each other. They do not, you know, call it out. And so they'll feign ignorance, or they'll perjure themselves in order to protect that which is wrong. And so good job. This is what you call an example of a good officer who has compassion and humanity. And that's what the police departments need.
Finally, NNV's Brother Willie Muhammad and his guest, Dr. Gary Clark and Sister Sadia Kareem, discussed the closing arguments in the Derek Chauvin murder trial and policing the police.
Do you think he's going to be convicted?
We want to see that policing is on trial. And there are those who want to place policing on trial because policing is on trial. And if the general public, the authorities know and understand that if policing fails, that there could be an all-out disruption of what takes place. They know and understand that if policing fails, that those of us who are part of the minority community, the African-American community, and people of color, that those individuals who are factions within that community may indeed engage in an assault on the system. But guess what? Let's just say if this case falls right and we discover that the verdict is flipped, and they also know and recognize that those who come from the right wing, those militias, and that's why it kept secret, that what will those militias do? And they come armed. They come armed with all sorts of military weapons, and so the preparation is not just for people of color, but it's also for those right wingers out there.
On the I Have a Testimony broadcast, our NNV News anchor, Brother Willie Muhammad, interviewed Chuck D, lead rapper of Public Enemy, about a wide range of social and political issues relevant to the Black community.
What would you say about has been the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's impact on the hip hop music?
That he's humble, great voice, his tone is penetrating. And you add some knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to that, it's going to touch your soul. I don't think a lot of people, even if they say the same thing the minister says, he's gifted with a tone. I don't think a lot of people also talk about his tonality. His tone is very musical. It's very soothing yet penetrating. And when you add, you know, a word of God or whatever you want to believe to that, you know, yeah. And very few people have that, Brother Willie. If like they might have the words, they might even have the diction, but they even might have the flow. But the minister has all those things, and he got the flow, the diction, the word, the truth in the word, and he's got the tone, just the right voice of the. I mean, in hip hop and rap, people will talk about Jay-Z, it's flow, but he has a tone, the tone. And this is why the minister said it's very important for artists to kind of like, you know, say some of the right things. And if you can't say the right things, point to people who are doing the right things. Not everybody's equipped to have the mic. And when you get the mic, you got to move something.
Our NNV News reporter, Robert Muhammad, spoke with Charles Muhammad, NNV's How to Eat to Live contributor, about the best fish to eat.
All right, Brother Charles, for our pescatarians and our fish eaters, where will fish be in the future of food?
Well, there's a saying that there's plenty of fish in the sea, and we don't really understand how vast the oceans and the seas are that can hold fish. And 3.5 billion people have fish as their source of food, and that seems to is going to double within the next 10 years to 7 billion. So fish is going to remain on the menu for the majority of the planet. So, you know, be happy that this is a food supply that seems to be unlimited if we treat our water sources properly. Fish will be with man for a long time.
NNV reporter Robert Muhammad interviews Salim Muhammad for this week's Al Asir report on young Black and brown men that have been murdered at the hands of law enforcement throughout America.
Looking at this past year, during the pandemic, we know that our brother George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin, and he's on trial right now. Considering the response, not just from Black, brown, and white Americans, but the disapproval from people all over the planet, what happens if Derek Chauvin is acquitted of murder?
I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I know what should happen. The truth of the matter is, if we look at the past history, this isn't the first time that a Black man has been murdered on national and international television only for the officer to get away. And it may not be the last. What we do know is that the way we ensure our slain do not die in vain is that we must take action upon or after these incidents occur. The fact of the matter is, we don't know what will happen, but we know it should happen. We know what the solution is.
NNV's Robert Muhammad questions Salim Muhammad about Black independent education and the new education paradigm of the 21st century.
Why is there a need to have a new educational paradigm in the 21st century?
Yes, sir. Well, that's simple, because it's terrible. The current paradigm of education is absolutely terrible. And there is not one iota of evidence anywhere that suggests that education in the United States of America works. It doesn't work. We need not look further than ourselves. Go and ask yourself and look in the mirror and really question whether or not you understood what you read or what you heard today. Go and ask yourself whether or not you learned that's what you needed that can make you a free and independent person. That's a simple question. It's terrible. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us you need not condemn a dirty glass, just put a clean glass next up to it.
Let us pause for announcements from our sponsors. When we return, NNV monthly contributor Brian E. Muhammad will be on for the Global View. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people, and upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Call now, 502-219-4848.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
According to human rights groups, China is engaged in the sterilization of Uyghur women, forced labor, and other human rights abuses, which China's government denies.
We already know about the forced labor camps, and yesterday we heard utterly heartbreaking testimonies from Uyghur women who have been systematically raped, sexually abused and tortured. This follows last summer's harrowing accounts from Uyghur women who were victims of forced sterilization and forced IUD insertion. The Chinese government's own statistics show that birth rates in Xinjiang fell by a third in 1718, further evidence that what is happening may meet the international legal definition of genocide, something the new US administration has already acknowledged. Last month, the Foreign Secretary rightly condemned the events in Xinjiang as barbarism we had hoped lost to another era. So surely the time for tangible action has now come. First, where on earth are the Magnitsky sanctions that we on these benches and members from across this House have been calling for since last June? The Foreign Secretary said the body of evidence in Xinjiang is large, diverse and growing, and we know the names of the senior Chinese officials who are responsible for these atrocities. The US sanctioned them last summer. Who in government is holding this up? Second, 20% of the world's cotton comes from Xinjiang. We welcome the steps the government has taken to help UK business cease being complicit in forced labour, but they did not go far enough.
Joining us is Brian E. Muhammad with the Final Call News. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, Sister Rosalind. And first, before we begin, let me say to all the Muslims who are out there fasting, Ramadan Mubarak, blessed Ramadan to everybody. I'm glad to be back with you.
Thank you. Your article in the Final Call News is entitled Justice for Uyghur Demands Changes in China. Why is China cracking down on Uyghur Muslims and other minority ethnic groups in its northwest Xinjiang province?
Well, this has been a long time issue between the groups of people in that area and the Chinese government. It's an area that is considered East Turkestan by some who dispute the area that, and China, of course, is saying that this area belongs to them, and that's where they get the name Xinjiang from. And the problem, according to the Chinese government, the officials say that the actual problem with the Uyghurs is that the Uyghurs are a group of radicalized Muslims, as far as what China is saying, because the Uyghurs, which is the largest ethnic group in that area, are in a battle and has been in a battle really since around 1949 and beyond, but truly since 1949, in a battle for self-determination, because they are not Chinese people. They have their own language, they have their own culture, and they want to be independent of China. And so they have been in this all-out battle over the years for self-determination. And the Chinese government is saying that because of that battle or that struggle, they have become radicalized and have been influenced by so-called terrorists from that area. And so you will hear the Chinese government say, well, our fight with the Uyghurs is an anti-terrorism fight, is a fight, to put down a potential insurgency of a group of people who want to destabilize or unstabilize China in order for them to realize their own independence. So this is kind of the root of the problem.
Now, we just heard in the clip that a list of some of the human rights abuses. What human rights abuses is China being accused of that we didn't hear about?
Well, the main one that a lot of the human rights organizations and groups are raising is this accusation of being a forced labor, that they're saying again that China is imposing forced labor, that China have established what will be synonymous by, again, these are what critics and human rights organizations are saying will be compared to concentration camps, and they are being culturally re-indoctrinated because, again, the Uyghurs have a quest for self-determination. China is saying that they have, yes, set up not redoctrination, but retraining situations, because they're saying that they want to deprogram, in so many words, the Uyghur people who were indoctrinated in terrorism, if you listen to the Chinese authorities. So they're saying that it's not re-indoctrination, but it's retraining to acclimate them into Chinese society so that they won't have a need to use terrorism and terrorism tactics in their quest for self-determination. And of course, human rights organizations and voices around the world are saying, oh, that's bogus. You are re-indoctrinating them in order to remove their culture from them, similar to what we went through here, when they took away our names, our language, our culture, in order to make us the so-called American Negroes that we became in the 400 years that we were here. Right. But so it's the dispute depending on who you listen to.
Okay. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke about the persecution of the Uyghurs and other Muslims on the very first day of Ramadan. The minister said, why should Muslims suffer in China and we not go to China and speak on their behalf? What action should we be taking to aid and lend support to the Uyghurs?
Well, what the minister said, to go there and one, to find out what's going on. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I know his detractors and his enemies do not lift this reality of Minister Farrakhan, that he has been one of the best humanitarians and peacemakers in the world. When the Sudan was going through their problem, he went there. He went and talked to the different sides. He's a principled man. So in other words, he don't just take the side and say, well, I'm with the Chinese or I'm with the Uyghurs. We find out what is actually going on and we fight against oppression. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that he was really talking to the Muslim world when he made those comments. That we are a world. China is a country, Myanmar, which is another place in that region that is having problems, and the Muslims there are being persecuted, right? But he's saying that is a country, while we as Muslims, we are a world. So why do not those at the base of our world in Mecca send people there and negotiate and study what is going on and lift your voices for the Muslims who are suffering in these situations? So the minister was saying, this is what we have to do. We have to be in a position to go there, but again, not taking sides, but go there for the sake of justice, because it is injustice and it is aggression that Allah hates. You know, so when we have a situation where people are fighting like that, you find out who is the aggressor. And again, you're not taking sides. What you're on the side of is justice and putting down aggression.
The U.S. State Department annual country reports on human rights practices for 2020, called China's Treatment of the Uyghurs, Genocide and Crimes Against Humanity. The U.S. Congress has introduced a bipartisan resolution to refer the Uyghur matter to the United Nations. Is the Biden administration likely to refer the resolution to the UN?
You know, Sister Rosalind, that remains to be seen. It remains to be seen because there is a hypocrisy that goes on where China is concerned, not necessarily on the part of China. China has a role in it, but on the part of the United States, and even when we talk about the Muslim world. The reason why the Muslim world is slow to act on these issues that affect Muslims in the world, like in China, is because they have an economic interest in play. China is the second world economy on the planet, second only to the United States. So China has its tentacles economically in every region of the world, Africa, the Middle East. And even though the United States talks this game about China this and China that, they only step but so lightly where China is concerned, because they still got to do business. So they're not quick, like the Secretary of State was asked about, well why don't we boycott next year's Winter Olympics that's in Beijing in 2022? He said, well, that's not really on the table. We're not trying to do that. We want to have talks first. And he said out of his mouth, we still have to do business with them. So it's economics. It's a lot of factors involved. So whether the Biden administration will listen to its own Congress people and others who are saying, you must be the voice to take this to the UN, you know, and even if they take it to the UN, again, China does business with many of the member nations. So China, like America, is in a position where, you know, who gonna step to me? Really, step to me.
Thank you, Brother Brian, for joining us and adding your insight to this very important discussion about human rights and its violations. Thank you. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Delphine Sellars, Executive Director of Urban Community AgriNomics, UCAN, will be on later to talk about the Catawba Trail Farm and how it serves the community. We will be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
A variety of agriculture, vegetables, fruits, and plants are grown at Catawba Trail Farm, which is supported by Urban Community AgriNomics, a nonprofit organization.
So right here is going to be your first hole. You don't put a hole at the very end. Okay, that's going to be your first hole. And that's your model from that point on. Okay?
Good amount of force. You're going to start to turn.
These will last probably about 5 or 6 years. They will continue to grow these mushrooms for that long.
Joining us to tell us more about the farm is Delphine Sellars with Urban Community AgriNomics. Greetings.
Greetings, and thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Where is Catawba Trail Farm located?
It's actually located in Durham, North Carolina, in what we call Northern Durham. If you wanted the actual address, it's 2080 Sawmill Creek Parkway here in Durham.
Okay. And how big is this farm?
We're on 53 acres of land.
That's
the majority of it now is wooded, which is one of the draws to the farm. So probably from 15 to 20 acres is what we're working on, and the rest remain in forest area.
Now, do you have plans to keep it as a wooded area, or do you have plans to bring more crops to the farm?
Okay. Right now, we have plans to clear an additional 2 acres of the land so that we can provide access to more individuals who want to learn the skill and the trade of farming. So other than that, it will remain forested for camping, for hiking, for other outdoor activities such as bird watching even.
Oh, okay. Now, how was this land acquired?
This is actually conservation land. I retired in 2016 as the county extension director here in Durham County. At that time, having seen so many disproportionate equities issues within our county, I decided I needed to do something. And having served on the board of the Triangle Land Conservancy, I inquired with them about the possibility of, do you have land? Of course they have land. Do you have land that I can acquire that will give people access so that they can learn to grow their own food?
What is the agreement with, as you mentioned, the Triangle Land Conservancy?
It took us a year, but we entered into what is termed a user license agreement with the Triangle Land Conservancy. And basically what that says is for 10 years, we acquire access to this land to develop it. It is up to us to acquire all that's needed to make it into a farm. Because actually we are reclaiming an old farmstead that had not been farmed in over 70 years. And it is also part of the plantation system that used to exist in Durham County. So every 2 years we sit down and we look at that agreement and everything is okay. We're following all the laws as far as not going into the conservation easement area. Then we start over with 10 more years. So it's a continuous 10-year 10-year rights to the property, to develop the property.
And how does that process work? After that 10-year period ends, you just submit new paperwork, or is there a sort of a renewal process that you have to go through? Does somebody come out and survey the land? What happens when you renew?
It's all taken at a honesty, okay, and it's based on relationship to a large degree. So no, there's no renewal of a contract. There's no renewal of an agreement. It's just, what are you doing? So it's almost as though we report and share what we've done, the accomplishments that we've made, and we look at the value that we have created within the community and the difference and impacts that we're making. And we simply share this, and it is automatically another 10 years, those kind of things. What our goal is and what we would like to have is, if we cannot purchase the land, it gives me a 100-year lease right off the top, because we know what we are about, we know what we're doing, and we know that we're building equity, even if it's, well, and I don't say that lightly, we're building human equity within our people.
Within our community. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. What types of agriculture, such as vegetables, fruits, plants, are grown at the Catawba Trail Farm?
We're only growing that which is, what I want to say, is nutritionally valuable. So we want to increase access to nutritious produce. We grow everything, depending upon what season you're in. You know, your greens, your collard greens, your salads, your lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, my goodness, okra, a variety of herbs, celery, bok choy, Napa cabbage, any foods, asparagus, because what we want to do as well is introduce people to different foods. Now we take it a step further. Not only do we want to introduce you to those foods, because there's nothing worse than helping a person to grow their own food or to give them food that they don't know what to do with it. And then it makes them feel even worse. They have to throw it away. So we look at, how do you prepare this food without having to go in debt and buy, spices that you're never going to use, again? How do you preserve this so that you can stop eating out of those cans filled with all that sodium? So we teach food preservation as well. So we take it a step further, not just to grow. So, but then once you learn to grow it, what do you do with it? How do you preserve it? How do you prepare it? How do you make sure that this is added, add to your family, add to your body, it helps you, because, and I could go on, but one of the things that we do is our goal is to not only help people to have nutritious foods, but it also, we're looking at health and wellness. A lot of preventable illnesses and reversible illnesses exist because of our diet. And we want to change that diet.
That's an important point that you have made. In addition to the crops that you're growing, do you also grow certain herbs to aid in health?
Oh, yes, we do. Everything from, well, I'm going to start off with sage. What else? Thyme, dill, cilantro. Oh my goodness, basil, African basil, and we're growing some ginger. So we grow the mints, you name it. We want to grow it. If we can grow it, we want to, and we want to introduce it to people.
Now, Urban Community AgriNomics, or UCAN, is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that partners with and supports the Catawba Trail Farm. What is the mission of UCAN?
Okay, well, let me back up a little bit for you. UCAN is the nonprofit Okay, and our mission is to enhance and to, first of all, give people access to land, access to space to learn and to grow their own healthy, nutritious foods. UCAN is a nonprofit, so we've decided how do we do that? What do we need to do in order? That's our mission. So how do we do it? We did it by creating a farm. So we've created the Catawba Trail Farm as a way to make our mission a reality. So we are, UCAN and Catawba Trail Farm are almost one in the same, with UCAN being the one who is responsible for bringing the resources together that we need, whereas the Catawba Trail Farm is where we use those resources to enrich the lives of others.
Speaking of that, how has the farm positively impacted and strengthened the community, especially now that we have some difficult times such as this pandemic?
It's an ideal place. You're outside. We create workstations. We have not suffered as far as the pandemic is concerned in regards to people coming out, people volunteering, and people wanting to learn to grow, wanting to learn about agriculture, which is a blessing for us. We work with school systems, we work with youth groups, we work with senior groups, we work with individuals. We're also a place and have been a place where individuals who may be involved with the criminal justice system and they need to perform or community service hours. So we're a place for that as well. We don't turn anyone away. In fact, the more the merrier. It's a place where you can actually walk a trail, Catawba Trail trading path to a tributary of the Little River. We institute, such as the video you showed, programs for our youth. Inoculating mushroom laws. Who would have thought? Grow your own mushrooms, and then you can take them home with you. And we realize that not everyone has a field or a yard or any of those things. So we institute some of our other programs, such as our Green Bucket Gardening program. What do? We provide you with a 5-gallon green bucket. We put holes in it. We provide you with the soil, seeds, and our plants, and teach you to grow. Even if you're growing 2 tomato plants or 3 collard greens, any of those things. But we want people to know how to do for themselves.
Okay. Now, in that clip that we showed, we saw, I believe you were teaching the class. What are some of the educational and health wellness events that you've been involved with?
Oh, gosh. Tremendous number. I'm going to keep it. Other than the mushrooming, we also are involved with raising chickens. We now have, so how do you care for chickens? Because in this county, in Durham County, even within the city limits, you can have up to 6 chickens, I believe, as long as you don't have a rooster. So what about raising your own eggs? Chickens, so that you can have your own eggs. And then once they, if you're a meat eater, once they reach their lifespan, you also have meat on the table. So some of those things. We teach about how to grow everything that people want to grow and how to prepare it. And then some of the other things, we also are involved a whole lot in gleaning. Gleaning is actually when farmers allow you to go on their land once they've harvested what they want, and as opposed to dissing it all in the ground, we can go and harvest some of those fresh produce, be it sweet potatoes, be it squash, be it okra, be it greens, and then give those to individuals in the community.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, and one of the final things I will say that we do is we actually work with, we have a sponsor, and we work with an organization called Farmers Food Share, where we actually once a month, up until our money ran out, but we're working on getting more, actually did food drives at least once a month. And that was anybody in the county. And on an average during that time, we served on an average 200 people that directly impacted over 400 per month.
Wow. Now, Miss Delphine, you mentioned before the money run out, I want you to very quickly let us know how you can be reached so that those who want to donate can, and those who want to offer their time can reach you.
Thank you. You can donate by going to our website. We have a donate button there, which is www.ucan.today. TODAY. You can.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see more of you and continue to learn about your farm.
All right. Thank you. I enjoy sharing it. Thank you.
Thanks. Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Afterward, rapper and MC Nai1 will talk about her musical career, its struggles, and its triumphs. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline reads, "How much more can we stand?" The painful death of Daunte Wright, the traumatic death of George Floyd, and the Derek Chauvin murder trial in Minnesota brings into focus how fragile Black life remains, and the constant, elusive, and almost non-existent giving of justice to Black people. How much loss can we stand? And have we had enough? This FCN Volume Number 28 edition features the middle page article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan entitled "The Intensifying Universal Cry for Justice." To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune into the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the nnvnews.com Final Call Cover Report.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
Nai1, MC, rapper, and recording artist, shares her artistic inspirations and personal journey to becoming an MC, rapper, and recording artist professionally.
I have the power. I have the ability to change the focus. I have the ability to change the rhetoric. I have the ability to change the direction. I have the ability to change the destiny. All I have to do is speak it.
Top Lexus, all of my time is precious. I thank God for blessings. Lesson now in session. I am my biggest investment. I'm gonna eat ice for breakfast. Hold on, I see my future. Know my Nova Super. I'm a lunar trooper. Watch how
Joining us is Nai1, MC, rapper, and recording artist. Greetings, Nai. I can see you. I can't hear you. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Greetings. I'm so sorry.
Gotcha.
How are you, sister?
I am fine. How are you? I got you now.
I'm well. I'm
All
well.
right.
Thank you.
As a member, oh, good. Now you are in the military, of course, as we just saw in the clip, and I'm sure you've undoubtedly seen or have been exposed to certain experiences that many other civilians have not. How do those experiences translate into your music?
Absolutely. Definitely they translate because I have gone into a certain realm, a different way of life. It's almost like you are in a different world when you join the military. So it has definitely, changed a lot. in my music because of that, those experiences, as far as, actually learning how to, be a person that is focused on survival fully, and 100%. Really the only mission is to survive and to help your comrades. So it definitely, impacted my music.
Mhm. Now, what would you tell up and coming artists for those at the beginning stages of following their dreams? What advice would you be able to offer them?
Never quit. Never quit. I've been doing music for a long time. I've been, in different situations, in different areas of my career where I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. I've had many jobs, many, different professions, and music has always been my passion. So if it's your passion, if it's something that you know that you were born to do, is something that you know that you were made to do, never quit. And I honestly believe that, God won't let you quit.
Right. I agree. We are still in a pandemic, of course, even though we've seen things begin to open up. Is being in a pandemic and I guess in the military at the same time affecting your current ideas or concepts around your music?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a major, major pivotal point for me. I think in my life where I really had to sit down and really just be quiet and hear from God. A lot of the time, we've been in this for about a year, I think a little over a year now. And I think for the first few months, I was really just quiet and just trying to hear from God. What should I do? What should I say? How should I approach certain topics? Because I don't want to come off, angry or disgruntled. I don't want to make things worse than what they are, because I know that my voice has, it does have significance. It can impact someone's life. So saying the wrong thing, could really just, it could be a bad outcome. So I really just wanted to hear from God. And I've been quiet for, a portion of it. And then I started to get back into it. I started to read and research. And I just really, I really just wanted to make sure that I was saying the right things as best as I can.
Right. I think that you've done that. One of your songs entitled Vibe has a very uplifting beat, and the lyrics are squeaky clean in an industry where vulgar content is the norm. Is it hard for you to come up with lyrical content that goes against that?
I would say it isn't, and it isn't, because as a human being, you do watch what's going on. You do say, okay, well, if I made a record like this, I know that it could, do more numbers or whatever the case may be. But as an individual who really wants to listen to eternally what I know I can bring forth, as as far as positivity and upliftment, I knew that I had to say something in this time that was going to help someone. I didn't want to say anything that was going to, make a situation worse. You know what I mean? So I definitely, I think it was in that space, I made it my business to say something that was going to uplift. It was, I wouldn't say it was easy. I had to go deep within, because in that period, I wasn't at my highest point, but I knew that even in this space right now, I know that I need to say something that's going to not only bring me out of this space, but help somebody else.
Right. Now, would you agree that the work that you did to create such uplifting and positive music actually helped draw you out of that space.
Absolutely. 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 I was, I'll give you a little background on that song. I actually, I took a flight to Atlanta spontaneously. I said, I need to do something I want to change my area, my atmosphere. I need to do something that's going to keep me on the path that I'm on, because I know that music is my calling. And if I stay here, I am not going to fulfill my purpose. So I said I needed to move around. I need to make moves. So I made a move, and I was scared. I was terrified. It was my first time on a plane by myself. I got on a plane. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know where I was going to stay, what hotel I was going to go to, what studio I was going to go to. Right. And everything just kind of fell into place once I got there. Real quick, I'll just let you know that my Uber driver who picked me up from the airport was a bishop.
Wow.
And okay. I had to tell a story. He prayed over me, and he prayed over my life. He asked me what I did. He prayed over my career. And, this was all spontaneous. And for my Uber driver from the airport to pick me up, and he be a bishop, and for him to pray over me and to bless my career and bless whatever I was doing, it was amazing. So once I got to that hotel, I knew that I had to write something that translated that experience. So Vibe came about.
Perfect. It sounds like it was exactly what you needed to get you started on delivering such a wonderful piece of work.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are welcome. Now, before we go, do you have anything coming down the pipeline that we should know about? Any new songs, work or ventures that you're working on? Yes,
ma'am. I'm working on several projects. One called The Unsuspected. It's actually The Unsuspected 2. It's actually the part 2 to a series that I'm working on, and also an EP, where I'm talking more about love and relationships and things of that nature. So definitely be on the lookout for those two projects.
Okay. And finally, can you tell our viewers where they can go to hear more of your music or to reach you for collaborations?
Absolutely, yes. You can follow me on Instagram at Nai1 ENT. It's NAI, the number 1 ENT, and on Twitter, same handle, and YouTube, Nai1 Music, NAI, the number 1 Music.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nai1, for joining us, and I look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight and for tuning into NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Rosalind Parks with National Network View News. Good night.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.